We definitely had a wild week in trucking this last week, so we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about Walmart opening up the carriers. We're going to talk about that driver that unalived the company owner in Crestwood, Illinois. We're going to go over the market a little bit, the dry vans, the flatbeds, the reefers, see how they're doing, do a recap on all that. Let's get into the stuff now. Let's start off with the crazy news first. If you guys heard about this, there was a company called ATG Transport Group out of Crestwood, Illinois. The police did some investigating and ended up that the company owed the driver a bunch of money. The driver went ballistic. He went up to the office. He poked the company owner in the neck, and then he burned the whole building down, which is absolutely nuts. Then he took off. He ended up like in Holland, Michigan, I believe. The cops ended up catching him at a truck stop there, if I'm not mistaken, and they finally arrested the guy. Crazy story. Like, look, I understand, like, in trucking, drivers don't get paid and stuff like that, but is unaliving somebody really the way to go and then spend the rest of your life in prison over some money? I don't believe so. In my life, like, look, I've screwed over some people in the past. I'm not proud of it. I've gotten screwed over a bunch of times, especially recently. I've lost a bunch of money. But going and unaliving somebody, and then you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison, not to get to see your family, not to make that money back, nothing, is just crazy. I mean, the guy could have just kept the truck, sold some parts off of it, parked it like in a bad neighborhood, and say he got robbed. I mean, he could have done a bunch of things, maybe just beat him up a little bit. That would have been all right too. But to unalive him and just to give up the rest of your life for that, I don't think it's worth it. I mean, the guy probably went crazy. I understand financial trust me. He probably lost it, but I mean, that's ridiculous, man. I mean, the rest of your life is done, sir. So, messed up that it happened, but it's tragic. It did happen, and that's definitely a crazy story for trucking. Okay, let's get into the whole Walmart situation. This is crazy. I think it's great. It's going to take freight away from the brokers for sure. But what Walmart did is they lowered their standards on the credentials they need for the trucking companies to get set up with them. I'm not sure what the number was before, but I think it was like at least 100 trucks, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. They lowered it to like 10 or 11. You have to have 5 consecutive years in business, and you got to have a clean safety record. So for a lot of trucking companies, it's going to be a good thing. For Walmart, it's a good thing too, because they got those are pretty high standards to get in with somebody, and it's going to weave out all the bad companies, and it's going to let good companies get in and like haul freight directly for Walmart. I am positive a lot of brokers are pissed off right now because they did a lot of freight for Walmart, and this is definitely going to cut into their business. I think it's a good move for Walmart, especially with the regulations they have set up. They're going to get a lot of good carriers. They're going to get a lot of loads moved. It's going to help out a lot of carriers because they're going to start doing loads out to spot board. They're going to start getting contracted lanes, and it's going to be a great thing for trucking in general, in my opinion. And for all you guys that hate freight brokers, this is definitely a punch in the to them. So this is what Walmart's doing, and if you meet the requirements, I highly suggest start reaching out to Walmart, start trying to get set up. Start getting some of that Walmart freight. Now let's take a look at Dry Van Hot Market Map. This is the map for the prior 8 business days. So it's like an average of the last 8 days. As we can see by the map over here, the dry vans definitely took a significant dip from what they were doing because they kind of went on a little hot streak, in the beginning of the year for the first couple of months. And now they kind of on a downtrend a little bit. There still are some pretty good markets. Like Texas is pretty decent, as you can see. Florida, I definitely wouldn't trust. You got Charlotte, North Carolina has been hot consistently for the last few months. And then if we take a look at Atlanta market, still looking pretty good. East Coast has been looking pretty good too for dry vans. I would not trust anything west right now or up here. Anything that's like, blue, dark blue is definitely not good. Like I said, the dry vans are on a downward spiral a little bit. Hopefully they pick back up the next couple of weeks coming up with the weather changing. Hopefully it's going to pick things up. But as always, just make sure you do your research. Just because the map says the market's hot, just if you want to send your truck there, just go search the loads for the day your truck's going to be there. Make sure those are the loads you want. Always make sure you're dotting out your I's and crossing out your T's. Do your research so you get the most money for your trucks, please. Now we're getting to the flatbeds. The flatbeds have been on an absolute rampage since the beginning of the year, even before that. If you take a look at this hot market map for the flatbeds, it's nuts. Like everywhere down south is plus 100, plus 100, plus 100. The east is picking up as well. I mean, just everywhere is great with flatbeds right now. I believe the flatbed average per mile is about $2.52 nationwide average, which is really good. They're the number 1 trailer right now ahead of the reefers and the flatbeds by far. So if you're in a flatbed right now, you're probably making some money. Let us know in the comments how you're doing if you're driving a flatbed. But, looking at this map and just the plus 100 load to truck ratios all over the place, it looks crazy for the flatbeds. And the construction season hasn't even started yet. So there's about to be even bigger boom for the flatbeds coming up. So more power to you if you're in one right now. Then we got the reefer trailers. The reefer trailers were they were smoking for the first few months as well. They're actually ahead of the flatbeds for a little bit. But now if you take a look, the reefers are kind of cooling down a little bit as well, judging by this map. The map was definitely a lot more red than it was now. I believe the reefers are at a $2.32 per mile nationwide average right now, which is not horrible, but for a reefer, you'd probably be expecting a little bit more. So if you just take a look at this map, I mean, it looks decent, it looks better than the dry vans, but definitely, if you pay that much for a reefer trailer, you definitely want the map to be hotter and you want to be making more money. So like I say always, do your research, search the markets, make sure the loads and the rates are there before you go into the market. And, try not to always, if you're in a decent market and you take some crazy rate to a bad market, take a look around you. Make sure there's another hot market close by. Because what if you don't take a load to a really bad market like New Mexico? Where are you going to go to from there to get to a good market to get a load? So it's always important. Do your own research. Don't always take the highest rate especially if it's going to a bad market, and you should be fine. All right, finally, let's take a look at the rates per mile average nationwide, see how each trailer type is doing, and see what trailer you got and see if you're averaging close to this. So we got the dry vans absolutely going under $2, which is crazy. $1.99 per mile average. That's a huge dip. As you can see, January we're at $2.15. February took a 13-cent downfall, and now we're going even farther below $2, which is crazy. We really need to be at this $2.15 mark with the dry vans to start feeling some kind of financial gain, in my belief. But we're not there. Flatbeds crazy, $2.52 per mile. So since December they've been going up slowly. January they went up. February they stayed the same, and March they just completely just skyrocketed up there, which is great for the flatbeds. I mean, if you're driving them, that's for sure. Reefers, as you can see, they were leading in December, January, and then February they took a nosedive by 9 cents. And over here, even farther down at $2.28 per mile. So they went from being the number one trailer to now dropping to second place, which is not much to say if they're doing better than dry vans, because they need to be doing better than dry vans, especially if you're paying $80,000 for a reefer trailer. You know what I mean? So it's got to pay itself off somehow, and it's definitely not doing that right now. So these are the national averages. Take a look at what trailer type you're driving, compare it if you're averaging close to there. Like I said, this is a national average. If you're sticking to certain areas, trying to get a little better load, shorter miles, you should be averaging more than that. But overall, this is what it's looking like now.